over time.
I got to keep those glasses off. You know, I wear glasses, but I hate wearing glasses on because with this hairstyle and the suit,
Right.
I'm starting to look like
Yeah.
Larry King. I don't want to look like Larry King. I mean,
Yeah.
good. I'd like to be entertaining like Larry King.
Mm.
I like being alive like Larry King isn't. But yeah, I look too much like an insect.
Right. Right.
Now, we were talking earlier about concerts. You saw Reba, like
Yes.
was
Reba
Reba?
McEntire at the Richmond Coliseum.
Yeah, I've seen so many people at the Richmond Coliseum. I saw Waylon
Uh huh.
Jennings,
Oh yeah, I like
and I
him.
saw I saw John Denver. I think I mentioned that one. The first
Yes.
concert I ever saw
Yeah, I
was
think you told me
Neil
about that a long
Diamond.
time
Neil
ago.
Diamond.
Yeah.
Um, uh, who else the last concert I've seen at the Coliseum. There's so many in the middle. I saw Garth Brooks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, real mod. You know, I got to tell you something about going to concerts. I tell people that why are you going? This maybe up to about 5 years ago, I was going to all these concerts. They said, "Why are you going to all these concerts for?" I said, "I'm on a farewell tour." So, what do you mean a farewell tour? Well, I said there are a lot of people I haven't seen. A lot of people never come to my town, so I have to go to New York and see them. And it's a good thing I
Ah,
went to New York and
okay.
saw them. I saw
Yeah.
Leonard Cohen. These are people who never went to Richmond. Chuck Berry. I saw
Right.
Little Richard.
Right.
I saw. Now people may have said they've seen them, but not in my time. You know, I missed my chance to see a lot of these people. That when if they were in Richmond. So when they're near the end of their career, I have to go see them in New York or somewhere. It's a good thing. So I was seeing all these people that were at the end of their careers, really. But the joke was that they're at their end of their careers, but so am I, because I don't really want to see anyone new anymore.
Right. I know.
I don't. I mean, I don't see myself. I'll spend like $50 or $100 to see Chuck Berry or one of the former Beatles or something,
Yeah.
but I won't spend that much to see Justin Timberlake or Taylor Swift.
Hell no. Hell
I'll
no.
see them on television.
Yeah. I'd rather see the oldies.
Yeah. Well, and then once they're gone, and a lot of them are gone, then I'll be retired from going to concerts now.
Yes.
Nothing's more disappointing now as an older guy when I see like when the summer starts, they have all the venues,
Yeah.
like the outdoor concerts and everything, and
Right.
beach concerts and everything, and and a lot of them are famous people,
Yeah.
and there's no one you want to see, and there's no one I want to see anymore.
Right.
A friend of mine, Barbra Streisand would be good.
Yes.
A friend of mine, she really in my day
I
is
would
only
love to see her in concert.
well. This is it. In my day, there was only one tour she's ever done, and that was maybe about 10 years ago. And she has very bad stage fright, so she never makes too many concert appearances. If you catch her, she records albums. And when she did this concert tour about 10 years ago, she didn't come to Richmond, but she went to like Washington and Atlantic City and New York. So, if you wanted to, you
Right.
could get those ones.
Right.
But the craziest thing was the tickets were something like, and especially if it was a big city, were something like $1,000 to see
Oh
her.
wow.
It may have been like list price, like $700
Uh
list
huh.
price, but then you would have to, um, buy pay scalpers rights, and
Right.
because
Right.
it was so in demand, these concert tickets. So a friend of mine who was a big Barbra Streisand fan, great Barbra Streisand fan, I said, "Are you going to see Barbra Streisand on her next tour?" And she just looked at me, and the same answer came in my head that came in her head. I can't afford to see Barbra Streisand, so we're gonna have to be
Oh
content with her
wow.
albums. I got this album of hers. It's a really good album.
Oh yeah.
I looked at it. I just been listening to it the last couple of days. It's from 2014,
Oh wow.
and she sings.
My
She's
grandfather loved Barbra Streisand.
Yeah.
He would get every single Barbra Streisand album there was.
Well, she still sort of has that night of elegance about her. She doesn't
Right.
sing, and you may not like Barbra Streisand's
Right.
music or you don't like her acting or something, but
Right.
one thing you could always say about Barbra, she always, it's always quality what she does.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how great a singer she was until I heard something really old from her, It was like like in a nightclub in New York in like early 1960s,
Mhm.
and she's really good. And I think she sings with Harold Arlen, the famous songwriter, who wrote all
Wow.
the music in
Wow.
in Wizard of Oz.
Wow.
And she was singing all these songs of his, and she sounded like Katie Lang. She
Oh
didn't sound
wow.
like the typical Barbra Streisand, "You're like the way we were,"
Yeah.
and I said, well, she should have continued singing like that.
uh,
But then she got locked into a bit of a style where she
yeah.
doesn't sing anything rock and roll, or it's all pretty sad love songs she sings.
Right.
But but
Yeah. I
it
mean.
works. She
I
seems
mean,
to
she's
work.
still good. I
Yeah.
mean.
Well, what's kind of neat about this album is she still cranks out a lot of albums. She comes out with an
Yeah.
album probably every 3 years, which is
Don't
actually
tell me like the love to sit and puddle.
from Don't Rain on My Parade from
Yeah.
Funny Girl. Yeah.
Don't rain on my parade.
Do you know that's her first movie? She was sort of popular on talk shows and in on Broadway. I think she was in Broadway in Funny Girl, but that was the first movie she ever made, and she won an Oscar the first time out. So she's been a star pretty much from the get-go.
Yeah.
And she was very young. She was only in her mid-20s.
Yeah. The funny girl was about Fanny Bryce.
Fanny Bryce. In fact, Fanny Bryce was so interesting as a comedian in the Ziegfeld Follies in the 1920s and 30s
Right.
that now when you think of the real Fanny Bryce, you can't think of the real Fanny. You just think of Barbra Streisand playing her.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean.
She was in a sequel to that made like 20 years later called Funny Lady,
Ah.
where detailed even more of her career
Mhm.
as she got older. Fanny Bryce and but Barbara, they say Barbara's kind of tough on movie sets,
Yeah.
exacting, but she knows what her
Yeah.
fans want, and she always delivers.
Yeah.
You know.
I heard some rumor that she was kind of rude to some people.
Well, usually people like that usually are. Not
Yeah.
that they're rude so much, but they're such perfectionists
Right.
that
Yeah.
people said it
Mhm.
looks fine the way it is. No, no, I know how it could be better, and then
Yeah. Exactly.
they do it better,
Yeah.
and
I
then
can understand
and it
why.
all turns
I
out
mean.
well for them, in the
Yeah.
long run.
I mean, I can understand why. You know.
Yeah,
Because, I'm a theater and sometimes I can be a little difficult.
you're difficult. You're a prima donna.
Well, yeah, well, I love the stage. I love the stage,
I like to think that when I'm in a show, I'm not a prima. I meaning I'll do whatever the
Yeah,
director tells me to
I
do.
do the same thing. I do, I listen to my directors. Yeah.
But Barbara Streisand is one of those. I think Orson Welles was this way too. They always felt they were smarter than the director, and I could direct a better job than you can. I
Right.
mean, of my performance. And believe it or not, they were usually right because with the movies Barbara Streisand directed, like Yentl and stuff, are like, and The Mirror Has Two Faces, and
Okay.
the one, yeah, that wasn't that great. And
Yeah.
then the one with
That's a mental.
the
Papa, can you
yeah, the
hear
one,
me?
a lot of good. I mean, everything she does is high quality.
Yeah.
So anyway, this album is pretty cool because it's basically her greatest hits, but she sings done. I guess she's in her 70s now, but she still sounds great, and she sings with all men, all duets with
Stevie
men. So
Wonder.
the cool thing is that yeah, the men that she sings with, if you're not a big Barbra Streisand fan, you would like this album anyway because the men are good singers.
Yes.
And she, like you said, Stevie Wonder, she sings People.
Yeah.
She sings, The Way We Were. She sings with Lionel Richie, and she sings. She sings for about 3 or 4 songs really. And Evergreen, she sings with Babyface Edmonds,
Yeah, I like
who actually
him.
produced the album.
I've read a book on baby.
But then she sings other songs like my friend Josh Groban. She sings Somewhere from West Side Story,
Yeah.
and she sings with John Legend, and she sings with
Oh yeah.
Andrea Bocelli. She sings a country song with Blake Shelton from
Lionel
the
Richie.
Voice.
Lionel
Well, I'm trying,
Richie.
yeah, and then uh, but the song at the beginning I like it had to be you by Michael Bublé that we mentioned, and but if you don't like any of these songs or you don't like it, what's kind of neat, the last song on here is a duet, sort of done like the Nat King Cole style with Natalie Cole of Unforgettable. It's "Love Me Tender" with Elvis, And you know, it's kind of weird. These when they sing like that, it comes off as they're just singing to a record, like you and I could do. I could sing to Elvis. Play one of his record. Play one of them. We'll sing together and record it, and now we have a hit. In fact, if you don't like my voice, you'll like Elvis's. But she sings "Love Me Tender" with Elvis. I don't think there's ever she ever performed in any form with Elvis before. But there was a talk that when she made A Star Is Born with Chris Christopherson, who she really wanted was Elvis to play the part, but Colonel Parker uh, said, I think in a way he wanted Elvis to play the Barbra Streisand, the woman's part of Star Is Born, and she could play the guy that you know that is a big hit and then becomes a drunk and kills himself at the end. In other words, there wasn't room for Elvis. The Star Is Born was too small a movie for
Yeah.
two stars like Elvis and Barbra
I
Streisand.
had the
So they
Star.
only had Barbara and Chris Christopher.
I had the Star Is Born soundtrack.
The
So I
Barbra
have,
Streisand.
yes.
Well, yeah, yeah. That you know, the last part of Barbra Streisand in that
That's a
movie
good
is really
album
good.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a 20-minute scene. They don't even cut from her. It's just they don't even show the audience or anything else. They just have her singing for 20 minutes. So wow, what an ego trip this movie is. But if you're a Barbra Streisand fan, this is the thing. Oh, by
Yeah.
the way, last thing I want to say about Barbara was that when you saw her in concert, and she had stage fright. She didn't even want to go on stage half the time, but you know, she always, you know, people were paying $1,000 to see her.
Yeah.
So, and there's like 20,000 people there. So they had everything on teleprompter. Everything she said. There was no ad libbing. She said, "Good night, everyone." That was the last thing she said. It was not so she wouldn't forget to say it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we should get her on this show.
Yeah.
We get a teleprompter.
Yeah.
If she wants to be on this show, I'll give it up and you can talk to her.
Oh yeah.
I'll just look from the audience.
Yeah.
But that's Barbara. Its name of this album is Partners. Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's a pretty good album. A lot of the popular men are that are popular now. She sings one song on here, "New York State of Mind" with Billy Joel,
Yeah.
and I think she recorded that before. But Billy Joel, of course, has the hit with it, so they sing a duet of it together.
Yeah.
One person who's not on here is Chris Christopherson. Sang enough in the Stars Born.
I'm very surprised about that.
So we were, so I have these two CDs. I have another one here. This is Bruno Walter and the Columbia Symphony Orchestra. I think it was recorded in 1959. Bruno Walter was a great conductor,
Yes.
and he probably was the he probably could have been the greatest of his time, but there was Toscanini at the time, and Toscanini was better than anybody. So this guy had a bad time because he came at a time when there was someone's that was brilliant. I mean, truly the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Toscanini. It's almost like trying to be on Jeopardy and Ken Jennings is on there. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
because I always said that the reason why I didn't get a lot of honors in school was there was a family of Ken Jennings in my in my
Right.
school that just won all the awards, and I would have
Right.
I would have been great.
Yeah.
But Bruno Walter was probably the greatest of his time. And this is a very great album. It's from 1959, and it's Ludwig von Beethoven. You know who he is. And it's the Ninth
Mm.
Symphony. Okay, and
The Ninth Symphony is great.
the Ninth Symphony is probably the greatest. Someone told me this might be the greatest music ever written. And people tell you, well, I don't know, I like Old MacDonald Had a Farm. That's a pretty good song. Yeah, yeah, but it's not the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
the what it's the music everything is compared to. All right. Well, I love the music to Hamilton. Yeah, but it's not the Ninth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beethoven wrote 8 symphonies, and I think took three or 4 years to write the ninth one. And he was already an old man. And it premiered in 1824, and then in 1827 he died. You have to remember he's an old man at the time, and he's all deaf. He doesn't even hear. He's at the premiere. He couldn't even conduct the orchestra, which he usually did at premieres
Yeah.
of his work because he couldn't hear. So he sat and listened. He tried to listen. He couldn't even listen to it. He didn't know anything what was going on. He didn't even
Right.
know if the people liked it. And he got up, and when he stood up and he looked behind him, everybody cheered. He saw everybody clapping their hands,
Oh.
and they were huzzah.
Yeah. Then like before he died. he would like sit in the piano, and he would like put his ear to the piano to hear it vibrate since he couldn't hear.
Yeah, he. So I said, I asked somebody once, how could you, how could you be deaf and write great music? And somebody said, you don't have to hear to write it. So what do you mean? Because you could just imagine music, and
Yeah,
just, and if you know the language, which is the notes,
yeah,
you could write it all down. And I found out, like, if you saw the movie Amadeus, I found out half of what Mozart wrote, not the operas so much, but all the symphonies and concertos and sonatas and
yeah.
everything, were he never heard performed.
Right.
He played the piano,
Yeah.
but he never heard it like the orchestra, all the horns and everything, because he only
Yeah.
wrote for, he tested it all out of the piano and wrote it all down, imagined it in his head. So it was as good as being deaf.
Yeah.
But he had all this at his disposal, Beethoven, but
Mm.
he sadly, his physical limitations didn't allow
Yeah.
it. But the two most distinctive parts of the symphony, it's about 75 minutes long. It's a very long symphony. Basically, anytime you see an album of it, it's the whole album.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Or if
speaking
it's
of
or if it's like a LP, it's three albums.
right. Speaking of Beethoven's Symphony Number Nine, when you go to a store and you look at a new laptop,
Yeah.
and then they'll give you like a sample of what the computer will sound like. And then it's got like Beethoven, like the symphony, and some like other song that's like jazz or something. They'll give you those two songs for like listening samples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Then
it's always the ninth.
yes, yes,
The ninth is distinctive.
yes.
It's all great.
Because when I bought my laptop,
Yeah.
years ago, I don't have it anymore, but
It's
years ago.
all great, but there's a
Yeah.
but the second movement begins with how does it go? It goes dun 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 dun.
I think that is like the coolest
Yeah.
symphony I have ever heard.
The music was used.
Yes.
The first time I ever heard the music was on the NBC News,
Yeah.
and then MSNBC sometimes
Uh-huh.
alludes to that because it's
Right.
the olden days. Huntley Brinkley Report had that as the theme at the end. But it really came to fruition for most of us.
Uh-huh.
It was the music that drove the Malcolm McDowell character in Alex in Clockwork Orange to violence every time he heard it. It was his greatest music,
Yeah.
to the point where every time he heard that music,
Right.
dun, 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 it would make him sick because they conditioned him like Pavlov's dog to hate violence. It was because he was in
Right.
jail for many years for
Right.
committing a lot of violence. So they always associated violence with the Ninth Symphony in the Clockwork Orange. Yeah, if you've already seen Clockwork Orange, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of confusing to say, but then they finally put like a picture to this music.
Right.
Now it has another part to it, that is uplifting. It's called the Ode to Joy.
Oh, I love that
And it's based
one.
on Friedrich von Schiller's poem Ode to Joy in German.
Yeah.
And then, and it's one of the few symphonies that
Yes.
the last symphony is sung. It has
Yeah.
a chorus to it.
Right.
And I think this was added to it after. I think at the premiere there was
Mhm.
before. I think the premiere had the, but I think there was talk of him writing it as an instrumental, which would have been great as an instrumental, but it's even better as a
Right.
chorus work. And
Right.
it goes, oh the joy is is
Da
great.
da 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 da. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Sing along, everyone.
There
La
you
la
go.
la. La. Now the ode the joy.
Yes.
If churches play it all the time
Oh
as
yeah.
hymns, as a
Yeah.
hymn. A lot of people don't know it's from the Ninth Symphony. They
They
just
also
know it as a church song.
play it at weddings sometimes too.
Played at weddings, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's Ode to Joy. And somebody actually said that part of the Ninth Symphony I said was the greatest music. This is the greatest music of the greatest music. Is that part, and everyone seems to know it, and everyone seems to love it,
Right.
and it's always been in style. They go crazy for it. I think it came late into the Orient to Japan, and Japan they can't get enough of it. Almost every
Right.
time there's a classical music concert, they play the ninth. It seems like they play the ninth symphony to the point where
Right.
people are sick and tired of it. I think at this point.
Right.
Beethoven wrote, the Fifth Symphony, da 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 da. That's what everyone knows. And then the Seventh Symphony was he almost. I think that was like his greatest symphony at that point. The Fifth, then he wrote the Seventh, and that was the greatest.
Right.
Then he wrote the Eighth, which is good. They're all good, but the Eighth one wasn't as good as the Seventh one,
Yeah.
or wasn't as well received as the Seventh one. It's all subjective. But then he
Yeah.
said he put them all to bed with the ninth one, and they said that I think they even said to him, "Are you plan to write a 10th one?" He goes, "I've already written the ninth one. Don't bother me. It took me this long to write the ninth one. This is my farewell. This is my valedictory composition." So he, and when I was a kid, I mentioned that I heard so much about Beethoven that I heard so much about Beethoven writing music. I thought he invented music.
Right.
I thought like, what do you mean invent music? I said I didn't think music existed. I think people just didn't even hum or sing until he came around, and he finally put a music to what we were thinking. But that's the way it goes.
Right. Right.
Do you play any instruments?
Well, I sing and I do and I dance,
Yeah.
but I
Well,
don't.
that's great.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
That's all I do too. I
Yeah.
don't play anything.
Yeah.
Play the kazoo.
Yeah.
Can you whistle? I'm pretty good at whistling.
My grandfather was a really good whistler.
I was in a I mentioned Harry Connick earlier, and I was at work once and I was whistling. I'm one of those people that people get annoyed with because they whistle all the time.
Right.
And usually I'm whistling songs, like Happy Birthday or Jingle Bells, or stuff everybody take me out to the ball game.
Yeah.
And I was whistling something I heard at the Harry Connick concert, and it was. Let's see if I can do it now. I have to compete with the lawnmower in the back. Let's see. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
So anyway, I'm whistling that, and I'm just whistling. It
Yeah.
just was in my head. They call it
Right.
an earwig or something. I
Yeah.
was whistling this, and then some woman came to my desk, said, "You're whistling." Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend. I didn't mean to annoy people while they're working. He goes, "No, that song you're whistling, that is a great song." And I said, "And I know that song." I said, "What is it?" And I mean, and I don't think I said, "You're whistling the theme to Charade by Henry Mancini. That's in
Yeah.
that Audrey Hepburn, Cary Grant." And I said, "Yeah, that is a great song, isn't it?" Yeah, and you did it right. And I don't know about that just now, but there she actually went from the other end of the room to tell me how much she loved the song Charade, loves the movie, and loves the song. I'm glad to see I nailed that.
Right.
But I tell people, you give me the music, I can whistle to it
Yeah.
as long as you know.
It's not the loudest, but I could whistle
What are you whistling?
like whistle like birds.
Oh, look, yeah, you like bird calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my grandfather was a really good whistler.
I could never do that whistle that's really high that people do.
Oh
Can you do
yeah.
that?
I
Yeah,
can't do
that was
that.
great. No, I
Sorry.
can't do it either. People can. I mean, they actually have like the internet where the how to do these things and how to whistle, and
Yeah.
and I can't do. I mean, I've tried. I would love to. I would love to be. Because I'm not a very. I don't like read music or play an instrument or anything. So if I could do a good whistle,
Yeah.
that would be my entry, other than singing and dancing, into the music world.
I could sing and dance. So
Yeah.
that's the main thing. I'm still musical.
There's
So
I think I told you there was a famous guitarist who learned everything by ear, B.B. King. You know
oh
B.B.
yeah, I
King.
like him.
Now what happened was B.B. King. He was on a talk show once, and they said, "You're like the greatest guitarist of all time. Wow, how do you get so great?" He goes, "I taught myself." He goes, "And I'm not the greatest of all time." And he says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Because he taught himself, he'd never learned how to read music or read it well.
Yeah,
He could only play like chords and stuff." And he plays them very well because he taught himself.
yeah,
He said, and this is really weird. He said that he cannot play like in a band or in an orchestra. He can only be front and center playing solos because
yeah,
he cannot play with other people like
yeah.
a typical guitarist
I'm
can.
the same way
Yeah,
because I taught myself how to sing and dance and all
yeah.
that. You know.
Always remember, whenever you see a band, everyone in the band could be the leader of the band.
Yeah, just like when I'm in a dance group,
Yeah,
I do better doing dance solos than I do in a dance
yeah,
group
just like B.B. King in his way. Yeah.
because I think I sort of have like a ADHD sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
if I get in a group, if I dance with a group, I can't concentrate.
yeah.
I rather concentrate on dancing on my own, which I love to do any better anyway.
They had trouble with uh, I think I told you this. They had trouble with Ray Bolger in The
Uh,
Wizard of Oz
uh,
because they couldn't teach him how to dance.
yeah,
In other words, he could not dance in a chorus line.
yeah.
He would play the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, and but you put the camera on him and he does the solo. He does it great. He
Oh
just
yeah. Well,
improvises
see,
it, and every time he dances, it's different. But he did it great.
I'm kind of the same way like
Yeah,
him. I
yeah.
mean, you know,
He was a hoofer, they called
it's not that I, mentally can't do it. It's just, you know, I feel more comfortable doing a solo dance
him. Like for example, when I saw the
because
Rockettes.
I could do any dance I want to.
Yeah.
You know.
When I saw the Rockettes,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how synchronized, how they all did it in lockstep.
Yeah.
No mistakes or anything.
Yeah.
I think normal people cannot do that.
Right.
He had like 50 women doing it all. I mean, and
Yeah. I
I'm sure when
mean,
they're training, there's a lot of mistakes done. But by the time you see it at Radio City Music Hall, they're all it all looks great. And any Broadway shows like
yeah.
that.
I mean,
And usually when I'm in a lot of musicals like you, but usually when I'm usually in the last dance number, you know, and I always tell the director, put me in the back. So I'll just
right.
basically just an aerobics class at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just following around.
I rather do dance solos than dance.
Yeah. Well, dance grouping is hard.
Yeah, I know.
No room for mistake. They actually have something in Hollywood called the Burl Ives dance number.
Yeah.
You know Burl Ives?
Yes.
And they said Burl Ives is a great performer, great singer, and everything,
Mhm.
but he couldn't dance. So whenever they had him to do something on a variety show, they just have him sit in a chair or stand up playing the banjo or something, and then everyone dance around him, so it looked like he was part of a routine. But he wasn't dancing at all. He weighed over 300 pounds. How much dancing? And he's not Jackie Gleason that he could do that dance that Jackie Gleason would do.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Right.
So anyway, I saw a funny. I'm gonna tell you one last thing. I saw Sanford and Son where they had all these trumpeters,
Oh
and
yeah.
he came out with a
It's so
trumpet
funny.
and he played pretty good. And then you notice he wasn't playing a trumpet. He had a kazoo at the end of it. He was and everyone could play a kazoo. A kazoo is like whistling, you do
Yeah.
it to the beat and everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's good. I'm glad we had this overtime. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Mary.
Thank you all for tuning in. You know, we love you all, and may God bless you all. Mhm.